Okay, I'd like to call the April 8th meeting of the budget workshop of the Board of Finance to order. We do have to, we have short one of our members tonight, so we do need to vote in Christina as a voting member tonight.
I will make a motion to have Christina Crescenzi be a voting member tonight.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So for our budget workshop, tonight, the Board of Education is 4A, first one. Patrick did present to us already. And I'm sure all of us have looked it over and have some questions, so we'll start with whoever wants to start with the questions for the board. Proceed from there. Hold on.
Well, I'll start. So I know one of the questions, I know we talked about it a bit when you presented, but can you just go over the health insurance again and why we're seeing such an increase this year compared to?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can tell you the increase isn't it happened really the start of this year with the changeover of plans with 30 employees. So that could have been new employees coming in, taking higher level benefits than those leaving. It could be those that had change of life circumstances that included like getting married, so they were on single, going to two-person versus maybe being on two-person going to a family. So overall, we saw a change over 30 total employees. So from what we budgeted last year to what our actual costs this year, essentially it was a difference of 315,000 roughly. So thankfully, health insurance did come at 2%, but that was based on what was approved for last year, what we projected at that time, not knowing that we were going to have a changeover with an increase of benefits to that group, if that makes sense. So from the revised budget, the increase was what, about 10,000?
About 6,000 roughly.
Yeah, so I mean, but it was really what we budgeted this year. So we were really facing it this year and then obviously for next year.
And how are we covering it this year?
Other surpluses, mostly from vacancies and other spots.
Are we going into the new year with any vacancies?
So the vacancies aren't planned. So I'll give you an example. Like we have a high school teacher vacancy. It's for mandated services. We've been trying to fill it since about there was about early fall change. So we have a person that we've reallocated, but they're not filling their service. So they're doing we're basically putting a Band-Aid on it. They're getting a little extra pay, but ultimately it's a significant savings in the budget. But we're not, if I'm being completely honest, we're not servicing the kids the way we should be. And so we have a number of vacancies that take place either for short periods of time. I mean, another example is I didn't have an admin assistant for several months. That was essentially a savings in salaries. We had an HR vacancy. That was a savings custodian. I think we still have, do we still have a custodian right now? But we just filled it. So we had a custodian up to just filling. Essentially we count on these salaries. There's a need for those positions, but I mean, anyone that's in the workforce, it's hard to find people to work. It used to be where we would have a vacancy and we would have a strong number of candidates. Now we fight to get a handful, and that definitely slows the process. And I mean, fortunately for the budget, it helped us in like cases like this where we had a shortfall. But ultimately, like if we're running efficiently and we're at full capacity, we shouldn't have it.
And then last question, at least for now, and then I'll pass it along. So I know we're talking about in the next year adding on a music teacher. I do understand, right, that's something that we want to do. If you didn't do that, would you continue to be able to fill the way that it has been filled?
Yeah, so the chorus position would add to what we currently have for music and band. So both are music teachers, although they teach both chorus and band. When I say both, I'm talking about middle school and high school. Their primary focus and their training is primarily in the band area. Our chorus program has suffered in numbers, because more attention is put into the band. There is a student interest, and so certainly we want to build as far as what we've done this year, as far as expanding it into Broadbrook, but it's more about expanding the program, not maintaining. So so that position,
Do you know roughly the cost of that position?
what did we budget? Is that with benefits? Because
The benefits is worked into our medical account that we asked for, but the actual course.
Yeah.
This is.
roughly about 60 plus whatever Ryan has for benefits.
Thank you.
63,000.
Is that with benefits?
63 on the salaries, and I did a +1. So like the middle, instead of like a single, you have +1 and then you have the family, I did the in
So what's it
between.
cost for plus one?
Was 19, roughly 19, 20,000.
Yeah, so rough, we'll say 80, rough estimate.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question on the medical myself. This Venus report that I have, that Amy gave me, says your 2023 actual was only 1.2 million. And now this in the 2025 budget is 2.7. Is that 2023 number like incorrect or something?
No, so this has to do, you may recall, not this year's presentation, but last year, for years with previous administration. Our medical was offset by our special ed, choice tuition revenue. It's special ed revenue to like with our improved, business reporting, we've moved that into the special ed department. So basically that offset that used to be to medical is now in special ed private tuition, and that's where it's going to go going forward. So that was more with improvement with reporting.
And along the lines of benefits, and it's one of the things I started when I was going through your budget. You have a 10% increase in pension this year, but it's over 200,000 increase from 2023. Is that just normal or?
So we get, Amy might be able to speak more to that. Sorry, Amy, to put you on the spot, but I mean, essentially.
We get the number from the actuary. And we had a really good year, that low year that you're talking about.
Okay.
So we didn't have to put a lot in because we had good returns.
Better return.
The next year, we had a big loss, so we had to go up and they didn't go up enough. So they were actually behind to what they budgeted. And so now they're trying to budget this, the actual one from last year, plus the 10%. So they have to get themselves farther, so their increase is more than the 10% because they're trying to catch up from this year that was short.
Yeah, to be clear, we're not happy with the number.
And we don't get a choice, and we usually don't get it in time. So we have to do our best guess.
I have a couple of things. Page 5, your facilities number went up.
Sam and Munis.
Excuse me? No, this is in your report.
Okay, good luck. Thank you.
24 was 1,640,000, now it's 234. Or I'm sorry, 1,874,000, 234,000. What's failing? Just tell me facilities.
Can you just open the door?
Jay went out the back door.
I just want to make sure it's open because it's a public meeting.
Oh,
That's all, sorry.
the front and back doors are open. Oh,
So just going to the numbers. So I'm looking at 25, page 25 of that same book, Tom. So one of the things that I'm assuming is that we pre-spent last year on custodial supplies, because I see for FY 24 it was 0, so that tells me we pre-spent on supplies. Repairs and maintenance, I think if anyone goes to our facilities, they can understand it's up 33,000. increases with salaries, 29,000. Actually, that's just middle school salaries, high school salaries, 36,000. 10,000, except for Albrook. So certainly salaries, and raises have to do with the building repairs, pre-spending on supplies.
Yes.
So that's where the primary differences are. So if you go to page 25 in that same booklet, it gives a breakdown.
Okay. And then, East Windsor Middle School, page 27, East Windsor custodial salaries. That had a $29,000 increase. Did we add did we add somebody or?
We didn't hire anyone, is that? So some of that is more about the transfer of people, so you may have had someone, which tells me probably someone from Broadbrook moved. Because that salary was loaded, so we did reassign some of the custodians at building, so some of that is also due to the transfer, someone with a higher salary going to a building where maybe they switched out with someone with lower salary. I want to say do you remember what the GWI was? 2.75 of the contract? I want to say it was 2.75, and if they were not top step, then they had step plus 2.75 for their GWI, and I want to say there's a total of 12 custodians. Yep, 12.
That's just a big step for one move there. That's just 29,000 for moving one person.
Yeah, I mean, we can pull up the contract to see the stuff.
I noticed the number there. And then, page 33, your nurses for the middle school. It increased 63,000. We add a nurse?
One was grant funded and through our ESSER, and that grant ends at the end of this year. So that nurse was fully grant funded. One of the things that we continue to see between pre and post pandemic is that our nurse visits are significantly higher still, even though now, or maybe 2-3 years versus what they were before the pandemic. And also it has to do with increased number of students with diabetes that require support.
So this is gonna stay in the budget to 63,000. We're gonna keep, that's
Sorry,
gonna be all the time now, because it's not grant funded anymore.
correct,
So that's gonna be an increase from here on out.
correct.
That's all I have on that.
Any questions I came up with, I went back and read the commentary and they were answered in the commentary. So it was-
Okay, so you said 8 support positions were being cut, but it's a near 5% increase. With the school already underperforming, like what is the plan to help the students?
I mean, so one of the positions wasn't an academic position. I will tell you, we have put a tremendous amount of professional development in our tier 1, which is our classroom instruction. So certainly more will be done at the classroom level. Most of the positions were intervention positions, not necessarily classroom positions. We did reduce the budget too by eliminating a special ed staff member. That staff member was district wide. So what we did was actually either they just went or they're going to a 3-day training where the area of specialty or expertise they have, we're providing training. And essentially we're increasing our internal capacity at each of the buildings with our special ed staff. Certainly it will have an impact, but we feel that impact is minimized by increasing essentially our tier 1. And again, what happens in the general classrooms, instruction and supports and resources, along with when these supports were put in place, it was when essentially like we were at the most need with the pandemic. Now, certainly there continues to be the need, but I would say the need has reduced some in the last 2 to 3 years. And thus we were planning for some of those reductions for the last 2 or 3 years. Certainly, we wish we didn't require to have to fund the ones we are, but we're still not through some of the, academic loss. From those 2 or 3 years, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I think the biggest concern that myself is that East Windsor per student cost is incredibly high compared to the state average and all of the surrounding towns. But our performance is actually lower than those with even lower costs per student. And that's surrounding similar towns, Enfield, Vernon, Windsor Locks. So has anyone looked into why our costs are so high and why our overall performance is actually it's declining, it's not improving? In the last 5 years, it's declined.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the population, I can give you this as far as just another resource you can pass along. I think there's enough. So as far as our population, it actually has shown a slight increase. Certainly it's not what it was. I've been in the district for 22 years, so certainly the population isn't what it was when I first came here in 2003. But I can tell you, as far as even our enrollment projections, it does show a slight increase. And we have seen a slight increase over the last year or two. I know the peer pupil comes up frequently. What I provided, and this is from this school state finance project website. But it basically breaks the dollars amount as far as what's allocated, local, state, federal, tuition and other. So I know the number that most people focus on is the overall per pupil. But when you look at local dollars and comparison, like take East Granby, which is slightly under our population, so they're less than 1,000, they're spending $2,000 more per student from local tax dollars. When you look at Windsor Locks, who has a higher population, they're slightly. So when you see the larger school districts, certainly because they have more students, you can allocate resources differently. But then when you look at low income and you look at all 4 of those or 5 school districts as comparison, our low income is the highest. If you look at our multilingual learners, it's right up there. Windsor Locks is with us, but I mean, it's triple of East Granby, for example, double of Enfield and Vernon. Students with disabilities that percent is higher. So when you have that level of need, it costs more, just to be.
Yeah,
Very
no, I
clear.
understand, and I was only looking at like similar towns, I wasn't looking at East Granby, which they're obviously performing better at a better cost, but I was looking at Windsor Locks, Enfield, Vernon, and Vernon has actually the same number of low income and students with disabilities is just barely a percent higher, and they're at a lower rate.
Yeah,
I'm also mostly concerned with the score, the overall score from EdSite. East Windsor being 65 with the target being 85, and these towns are all doing better. So that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, I mean, what I can speak to that is we've done tremendous work on growth, and I would advocate you to take a closer look at our growth.
Oh, I
rate.
have
So,
the 5-year trend that went down.
So like when we look at our growth, I can tell you we were among the 36 school districts for Alliance districts. We were, I believe, 1 for math and 2 for reading for our growth rate. I can tell you that we've been highlighted from the state regarding our work on the science of reading, both from the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents and the state. That was a recent designation for our FAFSA scores. We've been recognized as a tier 1 school district. So certainly our achievement levels aren't what we like to see them, but to be candid, I mean, from where we had to go, there's a lot of work to do. But that being said, we are on the right trend. People are recognizing the work. But yes, if you're looking at overall achievement, we have some work to do, but we're moving in the right direction.
So this is my last question. Do you have like an action plan to improve? Because in reviewing the goals, they were sort of verbatim to last year's goals. And there was maybe like 2 or 3 that were new, but they were just repeats of last.
Yep, so
year.
you can find our strategic plans, 5-year plan. It's on our website. I can tell you that we have a district literacy plan that has actually going to be finalized, but that's been the work as far as our science of reading work. We're participating in the state partnership with that. We did, I believe, 3 years ago, we did a literacy review and we're following the work with that. So we're in our third year implementation, with our literacy work. So yes, I mean, we have multiple plans.
Okay, it just wasn't in the budget, so that's why I wasn't sure where to find it, but I'll have to look online.
Yeah, and I'll provide all three. You don't have to look. I'll get them to you.
Thank you.
Question. All right, so snow plow, we've got that going on. I mean, I know weather's unpredictable, but why did, we think it looks like we're at 15,000 with our actual for this year, budgeting 40,000. What are our thoughts there?
Do we increase it or?
Yeah.
So I can tell you the last 2 years, correct me if I have this, Ryan, it's been much lower than anticipated. I can tell you, my first year as superintendent, I did reduce it and we went over quite a bit. I think one of the challenges is, and this is one of the areas is and as this board's well aware, we don't have a lot of historical data. So even though we've been light the last 2 years, 3 years ago, we were well over that number and didn't even snow that much. It was really because we had a lot of ice or potential ice, and it was mainly for the treatment of roads and sidewalks. That being said, I don't believe they're doing our sidewalks now, or custodial staff.
Custodians.
So there's
Do we have, because do we have some type of shared service with?
Not for snow.
Not for snow.
not
Okay.
for snowplow.
Okay.
So it is potential that there could be a reduction there. We just don't feel confident enough to reduce it based on the data that we have.
And
Just-
then, sorry, didn't look at it.
No.
Above the course teacher, and I do apologize, I think it's page 8 in this. It's $17,000. It says POSCL org. I don't know, I'm just curious what that is, because it was a $0.
I'll leave that to Ryan.
Okay. Yeah, yep.
It's
That's not,
it's grant funded.
that's the portion that's not grant funded, that's.
Okay. So we're,
Planning organizing.
yeah, sorry, Nicole. So
Oh,
what's,
okay.
what's the question, with that line?
Just what is it? Yeah.
That's.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, this- oh.
Weird, that's.
Yeah, so it's our positive school climate coordinator. The salary is majority grant funded. There was some recent reduction to the grant, so that's what the local cost to the position is.
And how many positions did we have that were grant funded that now are not?
So you're not just asking this, you're just asking for
Yeah, I think just over.
So we had in the grant, we had 12 plus staff. So there's like some staff that had like, let's say 10 hours a week.
Okay.
So when I say plus, they had some hours, but it wasn't, it didn't equate to like a quarter of the position. So 12 plus, it was 1 teacher, 1 nurse, 2 behavioral techs, 8 tutors, and a part-time clerk. So in our budget proposal, the local budget will absorb 8 salaries. And then we also eliminated 4 positions that were in the grant, and then we eliminated 4 additional positions that were elsewhere in the local budget, which was a special ed teacher, a para, accounts payable position, and building sub, who really served as an interventionist.
And then for new positions proposed for the new year, is it just the course?
Just the course teacher. So as far as like the net staff, the local budget, if you think of it that way, it's basically a net of 5 new salaries and benefits. So you have the 12 in the grant minus the 8 plus the 1 with the course teacher, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, for
On page 9, the Robert tutors. It's going from 7 to 5 positions with a $75,000 increase.
Because, how many were grant funded for?
Oh. You say that.
Yes, there was 4.
So 4 of them, so essentially, we had 4, so out of the 7, 4 of them were grant funded, only 3 were local, so what you're seeing on that. Is only the local cost, not the total cost, because the grant revenue is. Reduces, the actual costs.
Anybody else? Just, most of my questions were answered by Interior, when I was going through it. But some of the biggest increase areas are actually, looks like, and I think you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, is that you didn't really budget for supplies because you pre-bought them in 24. But now we're paying for it in 25, I guess is
Correct.
so. And then one of them, I didn't see it, was on your legal, is it, I assume it's because you have to negotiate a bunch of contracts this coming year?
We don't have, that was last, we've done a good job to space them out now. When I first took over, I think we had 5 in my first year. We might have one contract that's up. So our legal, so what we budgeted 60. And then we do have a retainer with our board, so we have 40,000 for our Board of Ed attorney still left. So it did take into account what we had on our retainer. Our legal also includes not just a Board of Ed attorneys, but specialty attorneys. We have one that's related to tax and IRS. Trial for pending litigation and sometimes matters that require impartial outside counsel.
So the reason that 2024 is because you still have money, but if you only put it 20 and 24, 23 actual is 81, and then this year it looks like you're about 35.
Yeah, so it was related to a retainer.
So you need to budget.
Yeah, correct.
And then, because then Tom touched on it, I mean, it seems like, you know, if you break all your categories down, and I can't find the page right now, but I mean, the facilities is where your largest massive increase was for your whole, you know, budget. The rest of it, I mean, there's savings in some areas and moving money moved around, a lot of it's explained in there. But you know, facilities is, it seems like, I mean, you're.
Yeah, there was quite a bit in special ed too. You don't see it because of the revenue with the Hartford Choice, because the revenue last year was to medical, and now so that reduces our special ed significantly. If you remove the revenue, it really is about 8% increase. But because when you see it to local and we improve the reporting with that change.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
the special ed number you actually presented to us is actually down, I think it was 0.5%.
That's based on the shifting of revenue.
Yeah. But some of that was covering, it said a couple of years ago, was that money was being used to cover your medical expense, and now it's actually where it's
Correct.
supposed to be.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like I said, most of mine were touched on or answered. Is there any other questions at this time?
Sure, I think, Board of Ed dues,
What does that include?
it's a great question, Ted?
They got in this report. You're looking at.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm looking at you, sorry.
Yeah, like cooling cabs and things that.
Yeah, so CAVE is the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. It's a service we provide for our policy and board members. And then what's the other one? CAPS is the Connecticut Association of Public Superintendents, so it includes our membership for that and the resources for both.
It looks like you under budgeted, is that what this is saying?
I think part of it is we're finding out what our true expenses are now. In years past, a lot of those memberships may have been in like purchase services or other lines. So this year I've been trying to consolidate them all into one line, just for that reporting.
And then the same thing, it looks like late bus, we've just been spending more than what you had budgeted as well.
Yeah, we're getting a much better idea of what we truly spend now. Same thing, we're getting more years of data and we're able to kind of project it a little bit better.
one of my questions that's kind of crossed my mind, and I see the buses in town quite a bit because I work in town. How many buses do you run for actual everyday?
13.
Just 13.
13, yeah.
13 routes for each grade level?
It's a sample of Cheney Tech. No, that's, yeah, so for our in-district runs is 13. And so it's the same 13 buses for each 3 schools, so they do high school run, middle school run, and then Broadbrook run in that order for drop off and pickup.
And it's just, I think I've asked it before, but I'm gonna ask it again. I see the buses going across, and they don't look like there's a lot of kids in some of the buses that were running as they're even heading into the schools. Is there, I mean, a contract's a contract, but is there a way that we can start to knock it? Because I mean, it's. Can we go from 13 to 11, or can we, can we increase the route a little bit and still make it to the school?
Yeah,
it's not a
it's
massive
certainly
town.
something that we could probably look into further. I mean, based on the feedback that I've gotten in the past, is the challenges demographically, like we're spread out so much. That it's not so much the number of kids on the runs as the distance to get from like one neighborhood to the next and complete the run within an hour.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that's a good point to look at. I know that I have 2 buses that go by my house for, which just seems kind of silly. They go, but on each side, one comes down and one just keeps going straight, but I don't know what obviously that entails to look and redo that. That may not
Yeah,
be.
no,
something-
I think it's a really good question. and
Yeah.
Something certainly that we can investigate. Actually, the timing was so out well too. But I mean, based on previous feedback. But that's been a couple years.
Yeah, because I mean, you're doing the bus contract for. Going for, I mean, we're on one right now, but do you have
Correct.
one for the next school year? Yeah.
Correct. We don't have one executed yet.
So that's something that can be looked into, so maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, would it be more feasible to have 2 small buses to make the route work? So we could get them done in an hour? And
There's no discount like for the size of the bus, so.
okay,
I guess the bus is the bus.
bus is a bus, I guess.
Yeah. I guess, I mean, for gas, the driver, this probably, I mean, the size of the vehicle may differ, but my guess is their cost. It doesn't vary much.
Anything else? No further questions?
No, we appreciate your time. We know you have difficult decisions to make. Certainly don't envy your position, and we certainly understand that, the Board of Ed budget is one of the largest departments, so we understand that.
Thank you. All right, next up is debt and CIP. I'll turn that over to Easy.
That, of course, has changed a little bit because we just did a big transfer out of there. So the numbers look a little different than they did. But it's really a placeholder. We're down to where we're only spending. We're down to where we're only spending about $500,000. If you look in 21, 22, 22, 23. This year we haven't finished yet. We haven't finished paying all the debt. But so it's really a placeholder. That 946 is 2% of last year's. Last year, you remember, we took 200,000 out of principal and added it to CIP. So that is where we are. We used to be at 849,000, which was my request. The 24-25 department head request. I had requested 849,500 for principal and 324,199 for interest, for a total of 1,173,709. And the 2% has, or the 200,000 has been moved once again to capital because we haven't issued any debt. There will be a time where we will need that, so I don't want to get rid of it and then not be able to pay our debt service when we need to borrow money.
Okay. CIP, we're below it.
Adam's here, so I'll let Adam do CIP.
Oh,
He's our
here it is.
chair.
Okay, go ahead.
And the letter that's in your book is their letter to the Board of Selectmen on what they want to fund. I think it's 2 million something.
Mhm.
Let's see, they requested $2,106,267. That's the department head request.
Not sure if you have any specific questions, but the total request for all the projects was about 9 million. About 4 million of that was for just the upcoming year. And the recommendation of about 2 million, I'm rounding a little bit, is about half of what was requested for the coming year. So that was a request that's in front of you. The projects that come before us, we usually get 2 to 3 dozen, depending on the year. And, we don't get very far down that list. I can tell you the police department vehicles and the pavement management, once we get through those two, we're probably, a third of the way through what our normal allocation is, so it goes really quick. You should have all the projects that we recommended for funding in front of you. A number of things for public works, as I mentioned, the pavement management, that's always the biggest one. Police department, building security, police department vehicles. Townwide drainage. And a public works vehicle. I think if you stop there, you're over $1 million, just, 5 items, so. That's kind of what we're up against. Again, I'm not sure if you have a specific question for me, or if you want me to keep going through the list.
No, just catching up with it, so. So you requested one, the Board of Selectmen brought you to 1.2. After review. So, pretty straightforward where your request were. The blue column, if you're looking at it, is what they were gonna spend once $2.1 million on. And now that they have passed the budget yet, so. And that's the immediate projects, then you have a list of future projects.
And we did not include much larger ones that we need to be on for,
Yeah.
that we just can't touch through this process. So those are also kind of on the side a little bit. The list you're looking at is in order. We go through and we use our ranking system, different weights, different values. So the list that you're looking at, police department, building security came out top for us. Down to the park and rec skate park was down at the bottom. So just to make sure you're looking at it the correct way.
Yes. Yeah, your ranking, 2010 was your highest ranking in 790, but your lowest ranking.
Yep. You got it.
And the police department is 2 or 3 vehicles a year, I forget what we're doing, to stay in rotation.
It's right in the middle. We usually do 2.5, just to kind of keep it consistent, trying to have the same number.
Okay.
Any of these BOE repairs, like in an immediate need?
Sorry, I don't have the second.
Okay, it's chimney, ceiling tire, tiles, boiler, hot water heater, and water main.
So the chimney, needs to be repaired in the next 2 years. Not to be, flipped, but have you seen the Broadbrook gym ceilings?
Yeah.
We would know more about the boilers tomorrow. Ryan actually has a meeting on that tomorrow.
Well, they have spent money this year
Yeah.
for
so-
boilers
so-
also.
So that might, is that for the last,
That next year should be the last of the
last
3.
thing?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Do you have any indication? I mean, one of the things we're looking at is how much this year's, like, the money that was allocated, like how, do we have any indication how much that covers, or we don't? We have to, yeah, I mean, Ryan could email if it helps, how much that helps, but.
That's all. Thank you.
Any further questions on capital improvements? Okay. Last one, letter D was contingency. I'm sorry, you had a question?
I'm so quick, Board of Ed, the water mains, is that for the middle school?
Yes, yes.
Is that an emergency type thing, or is that, we're hoping it's gonna make it through until we get it repaired?
It's okay, I defer to.
We
you.
repaired it.
Been fixed last year.
No, but I mean, but I thought we were gonna repair it.
We put a saddle on it.
We made it work.
The saddle on it right now and pipe was rotted right out. It's very thin. I could stick my whole fist up in it. So I am shocked that it's still working.
Joe, you know, it was April vacation,
That's all we're gonna say.
Well, that's why, I mean, if this is an emergency deal, I don't want it to become an emergency deal.
What happened with the last time we were there? Running the hydrant line, Lenny was talking about it. Can we not do that now?
No, you can't tie into a hydrant line. You can't tie domestic water into fire. So it has to be a whole new line coming through the street, from the street through the people's yards. Into the back.
Any further questions on capital improvement? All right, last one, letter D, contingency.
So the standard 50,000 is in there for things that go wrong during the year. And then the other line is the non-negotiated, it's the very last page. And it's the non-negotiated, those are whatever contracts are not in, contract starting July 1st.
Pretty straightforward.
And you see it went down from last year, but you can't tell that because we moved it all out to all the places it needed to go.
That's why there's never any action.
Right, there's never any actual there because it goes to the lines that it really belongs to.
Okay,
Can I go back to CIP real quick?
Mhm.
Adam, question.
Yeah.
So I know we have this weighted ranking system, but I'm just curious. So with the water, like the conversation we just had on the water main. So how would that get pushed up in your ranking?
It broke.
It broke.
It becomes more of an emergency. And some of them, it's hard, and I will tell you that because the way it's designed, if it's mandated or legally obligated, it gets a way bigger kick
Yeah.
to the top than some of the other ones.
Yeah, that's absolutely the biggest factor. If there's a legal mandate, then the weighting is much bigger, so that will take it pretty high up the list.
Like the police cruisers. They're mandated every year. I think they're mandated every year, aren't they? I don't. The police cruisers, police vehicles.
That one also has, trying to remember all
Public
the
safety.
criteria. It's a public safety and the benefit to the entire community is what kicks those. That one up,
Right.
high up on the list.
unless they seem like they,
It's a very interesting process,
Yeah.
actually.
because the police vehicles also run, seem like almost 24/7, so you need
Yeah.
to stay in a constant replacement of those, otherwise you'd have a very bad year sooner or later, that you need to replace a lot more than just two in the front 1.5 years, the next year, the 2.5.
Yeah.
That's enough, but I guess it's just timing on that. Okay. So, okay, any other questions?
It was harder when we were trying to do 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Because we don't give a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it goes up, what's this one going up, $23,000? So 2% is not enough money to put that second thing in.
Mhm.
Kind of like reval, you don't need reval, but every 5 years. But to pay 200,000 in 1 year and then nothing in the other 4 is very difficult when you have such a slim budget. Our number really needs to be the 2 million, but I don't know how you possibly get there. It's come up a little bit since I've been here, but the 200,000 makes a big difference, but it's, at some point, that's gonna have to go back to debt. So that means our number's going down that 200,000 again at some point.
And those big projects at the top are gonna be there next year and the year after, pavement management, police vehicles, drainage. I mean, we're not getting ahead on any of them, so we'll have the same discussion next year at this time too.
They do work really hard, but there's just not enough money.
Okay. Any other questions on?
We have library back.
Okay.
You had asked her to come back with something for 2%. What happens if she doesn't
Oh,
get the
Oh, yeah.
9% she was looking for? So she is on.
Hello.
We'll try.
Hi, Erin.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So, we went back over our budget, and if we were only to receive 2%, basically we would just have to cut a lot of line items from what we were hoping to get this year. Just to reiterate, we were asking for $27,450, and the question was posed, what if we only received $6,200 as an increase? And so we put part of that towards a smaller raise for our personnel. And then we cut a lot of line items. For example, we installed LED lights in the library this year, and so we're hoping that our Eversource bill is not going to go up too much, thanks to the energy savings, and other cuts like that. So yes, we could survive if we were only to receive a 2% increase. However, I would just like to remind everyone that the library's budget is only 0.66% of the town's total budget this year. And with the increase, I doubt that we would even approach 1% of the budget. We do a lot with a little, and I think that we provide a really good service to this town. And I hope that you consider giving us the full amount that we requested, especially given that it's relatively little compared to other departments.
Thank you, Erin. We appreciate you coming back. I know this is your first year doing this, so we definitely
Yes.
appreciate you coming back and answering our questions.
So please ask me any questions you might have. If there's anything that I was supposed to mention during my little spiel now, let me know.
No, I think you did great. I do think to your point, it is important, right? Like as sometimes that is what we're looking for is little pieces to make a big number. But I definitely, appreciate your candid response.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Oh, one very small final comment is the raises that I have written into the budget that we're hoping for does not include one for myself. It's just for all of our part-time staff who are working so hard for the community here.
Alrighty, thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, so that finishes going through all the departments that make up our budget. Some of the last steps we have is to go through Broadbrook Fire Departments and actually vote on the budget that we want to send to the referendum, and do the same for our town budget as a line by line, each department. Well, I say line by line, but by department, not by each individual line item in there. When we get to each department, if there's part that we feel we need to add or take from, you can do that during discussion, discuss it before you make the final vote by department. 4E is the Broadbrook Fire Department budget. For some reason, I have a hard time finding what I did with that.
Most of them have them in the front of the book, but I do have them on here.
I just trying to look through this thing. We can't seem to. If I put it up, that's fine too. Here. Nope. There's Broadbrook Fires. They presented to us at our meeting last week, on Tuesday. Their final number was
1,005,505, which is a 3.65% increase. With the biggest amount being in dues and fees, which was tied to after getting email accounts individually instead of just one that they were sharing. And the increase in the fire annuity that they want to give a different amount to their volunteers than they're currently getting.
so the two big line items that they increased. Is there discussion on the Broadbrook Fire Department? Any line item that anyone wants to talk about in there, that budget? Again, this budget, is only voted on by the Broadbrook side of town, so this does not affect the Warehouse Point side of town. They have their own Warehouse Point budget, is separate. So, and this would have a, you know, it's its own separate mill rate on the tax bills, for Broadbrook. So, any questions?
My only question is this our last year for the 200,000, Amy, for the new truck?
Nope,
No.
Or is it?
the 200,000 is a permanent number. The intent is to, continue to fund it so that the next truck that needs to get done or gear that needs to get done.
Stick that 100,000, then you don't have to give them out. That'll take back.
No, they're intending that 200,000 stays in there and gets used for the next fund. Their truck is supposed to be delivered this year, but they still have debt service payments of $95,000 that will continue to come out. So the hope is that 7 years. So the hope is that they're paying the 100,000 debt service and then have 100,000 towards the next truck
Right.
that needs replacing, or the next piece of equipment that needs replaced.
So that'll give them 7 years of 100,000.
Yeah. They've already paid. I don't know if they're in the first or second year of paying already for the truck because the lease purchase was done so early, not realizing the truck would be delayed and delayed and delayed.
Yeah, if you don't get it.
Okay, any other questions on Broadbrook Fire's budget before we make a vote on that?
No, I think that the change to the emails is a definite need, not a want. So I know that that was a big chunk, but it's definitely something that needs to happen.
Yeah, no, Tom explained that very well to us at our last meeting, the reason they want to do that, and it does make perfect sense. Yeah, unfortunately, it's money, but it makes perfect sense to give the volunteers, you know, privacy with it, instead of using their personal emails, which can be FOA or whatever, so. And then, like I said, in Moody's was their other big increase, you know. Yeah, these are volunteers, they really don't get a lot for responding to fire calls, but
The only other thing I would look at is, now what do they get? Do they get their diesel or they come from the town garage?
I think they get it from the town garage, but they have to pay for it, right?
No,
They don't. Yeah.
They have
No, they have a tank
contract.
right there.
They have- they have their own
Actually, have to do it.
I mean, is it worth them looking at buying it from the town? We gotta be getting a much better deal.
we have made overtures, they are not interested in it.
Okay.
I guess the question would be, would we see a saving?
On the town side?
No,
No, on their side.
On their side.
They're gonna need a new tank in a few years.
So it's gonna be a new point you're saying.
Well, they're gonna buy a tank. They're gonna have to replace their tank.
Well, why would they replace a tank if we have a good new system cheaper?
That'd be something we'd have to bring to them.
Yes. It's positive.
No, it is up there. So. Is there anybody that wants to make an addition or a cut from the Broadbrook Fire Department budget before we vote? See, no, I'll ask for vote on the Broadbrook Fire Department's budget number of $1,005,505. Want to make a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to approve the Broadbrook Fire Department budget at $1,005,505.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay. So next we'll move on to the town budget.
Nicole was the first, who was the second?
Nicole the first read.
Randy was.
Thank you.
All right. So next will be the town departments. We can do this in the order that is presented, or we can start with any department anyone wants to discuss first. It doesn't really matter to me. You know, if anyone has a certain department they want to bring up to discuss something that they want to add or take, we can start there, and then go through the ones that no one, you know, there's several in here, many of them in here, there's probably not gonna be a lot of discussion. So, it's the pleasure of the group. If not, we can start at the top and go on down here. Okay. All right, so we'll start at the top. The selectmen's budget. 2.45% increase. Pretty straightforward. Pleasure of the board.
It's just making sure with 309,230.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the selectmen's budget at $309,230.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Charter revision, there's nothing. Ethics Commission recording secretary, $750, 0% increase. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the ethics commission budget at $750.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Arts and Culture Commission, their budget ask was for $5,000. It's a 2.04% increase. They presented to us last week. I'll ask for motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve the Arts and Culture Commission at $5,000.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion?
I just think they've just done such a wonderful job getting the town engaged and, you know, especially with such a small budget. I know they get donations and I think it's wonderful. So,
Okay, next line item is Board of
All in
Finance.
favor?
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't go, did we? Discuss. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Board of Finance, it's 3.68% increase. Most of that falls under the audit, which is contractual. So ask for motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve Board of Finance at $68,975.
There a second
I'll second.
discussion.
just the annual report, I know we talked about it, I know we did reduce it a little bit, but do we think there's any other opportunity for reduction on like the printing?
I don't think so. We changed to a different place. It's a much better quality than the paper we used to get. And it's cheaper.
The annual report is published or printed for us by CCM. And they do it at a fraction of what we used to pay for that.
Okay.
And that's I think you said the product is superior, timeliness on the turnaround is nuts. I mean, they get it to us in like 4 days.
Okay. I'll go, thank you.
Further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the Board of Finance budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Put this in the right order. I have come up with the assessor's office, but not mistaken. It's basically a flat budget, $222,000. There's a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the assessor's budget at $222,003.
Second,
Second.
discussion? In favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Board of Assessment, it's 4.46% increase. Because
$125 increase.
yeah, so it's pretty minimal, $125, just a small budget, it makes it look, it's a bigger number. Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Assessment?
I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Assessment at $2,925.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Tax collector, it's a 3.7% increase as presented. You have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the tax collector at $155,466.
Second. Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, those in favor of the tax collector's budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Treasurer's office, it's a 1.9% increase. You have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's office at $281,427.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Fees, what brought that up so high?
3 of us have certifications that all need requirements of classes. And everything's going up.
Further discussion? All those in favor of treasurer's office budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Capital Improvement Committee for their secretary, it's $875, 0%. Should be motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the capital improvement committee at $875.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The legal line. It's a decrease of 31.4%. According to this.
Yeah, because we did a $150,000 transfer last year.
Yep, that's right, yep.
It's actually going up 15,000.
That's right, yeah, because we had transferred the money. To make it correct. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the legal line for $295,000.
There a second?
I'll second.
Discussion?
So again, this is because we have negotiation.
Yep. you got
Yeah,
that.
5,000 for negotiations and 10 just because of the cost of town council.
Mhm.
But we had a really bad year this year.
Also, we're in the reval, or we're in the appeals process for reval. The Board of Assessment Appeals opted to take any property valued at $1 million or more and defer the assessment appeals and park it right over to Superior Court. So there's an anticipation that the legal defense costs there will be a little bit higher. We're also using legal dollars now to bring cases or bring appeals against the siting of grid scale solar projects. So that's an additional expense in that line that hasn't been there historically, but is there now.
Further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the legal items, legal column, whatever. The legal line, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carries. Activities and fees, again, we can look at these, if there's something in here, someone wants to pull out and look at individually, we can discuss that before we approve the line item. So is there, I'll first ask, is there anybody in there that still wants to look at before we, as an individual?
I just do want to make sure the cemetery association, I know we discussed the cut there with the intent that we would be able to do the repairs this year.
Yep.
That's a definite, right? That we will be able to be, I mean, we
Not-
project that we'll be able to do that.
It's gonna come to you guys to decide that. So my intention is to ask you for that, but we're not there yet.
So, yeah, I just.
And it's not really a cut. They always
Yeah.
ask for more. They always get 25.
I know,
So-
but I feel like that we're getting to a need with some of those repairs, so, I'm comfortable with this where we're at, I just wanna, I'm hoping, that that'll be what gets done.
I'll agree, I mean, there is things that need to be done, all of them, but, it's. They do have endowment funds to have to take care of parts and bits and pieces, but again, it's not all of them. If we can make enough appropriation for us to help them out this year, that would be a big
Yeah.
step forward for them, would be a huge gain for them, actually. I'll ask one more time, is there anything else there that we want to look at individually? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve activities and fees?
I'll make a motion to approve activities and fees at $129,030.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Eagles activities, fees, and associations signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Information technology, it's a 8.5% increase. Joe explained it pretty well last time he was discussing this. He's smiling back there in the back of the room.
A lot of consolidation of things.
Yeah, but there is some decreases, but there's also some increases in certain lines, so.
Mhm.
There is an increase of $27,000. I don't know that we can argue it much. Are there any questions, or if not, do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve information technology at $353,326.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve information technology?
Aye.
A few more eyes here.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Aye.
Thank you. All righty, motion carries. Town clerk, it's a 1.34% increase. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the town clerk of $161,174.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the town clerk?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Flip this right, should be registered voters.
That would be correct.
Okay. This is a 32% increase, as was discussed at, last meeting. Due to early voting. I think the planning presented to us is reasonable. There may be some extra dollars in there, but again, it's first year through. So. I guess I'll ask for a motion to approve, and we can discuss or change if you would like to.
I'll make a motion to pass the register of voters at 117,364,000.
Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, discussion.
I tried to clarify this with Amy, and I think I have it, but irregardless of what year we're in, whether it's a presidential, an off election, the dollar amounts are still gonna be about the same, right?
Yes, there's about $38,000 in that election worker line tied to early voting. And because of our splits between our Congress, the districts,
What about?
that we have to have separate lines within the polling places,
Oh,
whether it's Broadbrook Fire versus not.
Split precincts doesn't cause early voting costs. What you need to consider, and what might be different from year to year. So the law is that you need to have 14 days of early voting for a general election. There's a general election every year. You need to have 7 days of early voting for a primary. The primaries move. So for example, a municipal primary is in September, a state legislative primary is in August. Those are both at the outset of a new fiscal year, but a presidential primary is in April. So you need to look at what the calendar, where the calendar falls in the next budget year and kind of figure out where the primary is going to be to determine if the 7 days of early voting for the primary costs are in the fiscal year you're sitting in or the one you're preparing. So that's going to vary a little bit from time to time. We had a presidential primary just Tuesday. We also could have a legislative primary in August. So that's a consideration too. I don't think that it's gonna happen, but we won't know till July sometime. So that answer your question?
I think so, so we'd have, I personally don't have all that in my brain, so we'd have to rely on the registrars to, if they're doing a budget a year or two from now, figuring out how many of each kind of election there's gonna be.
I would double check also with the town clerk.
Okay.
So in reality, from what, this year, obviously, for the next budget coming up, there's a presidential election, which is obviously big, But we could potentially, because of the way they have the primaries for certain, we could actually have the budget for 2 7-day primary early voting schedules in a year too, correct?
Off the cuff, I don't think you're gonna get 2 in the same fiscal year, because. Well, yeah, you could have, there could have been in the fiscal year we're in now, there could have been a municipal primary in September. And then a presidential primary in April, those would have fallen in the same fiscal year. That's circumstance that's not going to happen again for 4 more years, but that could have happened in this cycle. And the other piece of the early voting is the election of the Robert Fire Commissioners. That's considered a special election, and if it's a contested election, requires an additional 4 days of early voting. So it's in I can't remember if it's this calendar year or the coming fiscal year where we figured this out, but it came out to be 25 days of early voting, which is very expensive.
I was just curious if that now that they've done a primary, do they know that they can cut back on some people on some numbers that they have?
I'd have to defer to the registrar.
I mean, we really don't have that answer to.
Amy can tell you what they spent on the presidential primary.
It was $7,800 and they had 110 votes across the 5 days. 4 days.
So I
Tuesday, Wednesday, no, they did a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, so there were 4 days.
think they were supposed to do more than that.
So there were 4 days of early voting and then the actual vote on Tuesday. But there were 110 people across the 4 days.
Full disclosure, I was one of them, and there were a lot of people,
A lot of workers.
workers. I was able to vote.
That's my question. Do we need that many workers? And can we?
But so I did not budget the same for this year. So when they first presented, they originally started at 100,000 plus
110.
for the election workers, then it went up to 150. And then I did an analysis and we came out with the 38,000.
That 38,000 gives them one worker more than they had asked for, and it gives on an hourly basis every worker that they have either the same or a higher hourly rate than they're currently making. It still doesn't bring these 38,000 instead of the.
And it's 7 workers for each of the days.
For each district?
There's only one district. Early voting can only have one district because we have less than 20,000 people.
One precinct, there's only one precinct.
Yeah. So yes, both districts,
2 districts.
but in one place.
So. According to what's being budgeted, there's an August primary. A November election, which is presidential. And an April special election.
Which is the Broadwood Fire Commission.
14 days of early voting for the presidential primary.
Yes. Yep.
Presidential general.
Yep.
So, general.
Okay. So, I mean, this is the first time through on this. You know, it's kind of the guinea pig year, I'll call it. Obviously, Amy will track what does get spent. And we can look at this next year, or we can look at it now. I mean, obviously, we've already looked at it now, but we can make changes now if we feel. You know, they do have, you know, you can see the line items they have in there, you know, workers, you know, the printing and binding is the ballots. There is some traveling for them to go to the required courses, you know, supplies, machines, media cards, food, dues and fees. You know, is there anyone would like to make any changes to this? If not, I'll ask for a vote from the registrar of voters. On budget. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? No.
I'm gonna abstain. Just because I moderate the election.
All right, so I heard 2 ayes, 1 no. And
Aye.
you're what?
Yes.
Oh, I did, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it, so it passes. Okay. Planning department, it's a 1.2 0.51% increase. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve planning at $282,341.
Second,
I'll second.
discussion? All those in favor of the planning department, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Planning and zoning commission, 0% increase for the recording secretary dues and fees. Do you have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the planning and zoning committee at $5,250.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Zoning appeals board, it's $2,150, 0% increase.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning appeals board at $2,150.
Your second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor of zoning appeals board, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Property insurance, no increase. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve our property insurance at $191,500.
Your second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Inland wetlands, 0% increase. Motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve inland wetlands at $2,325.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Veterans Commission, recording secretary, there is an increase in this of $125. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the Veterans Commission at $1,500.
Your second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agriculture Commission, 0% increase, $750. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the Agricultural Commission at $750.
Second. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Conservation Commission, $825, 0% increase. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the Conservation Commission at $825.
Second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Economic Development Commission, 0% increase, $1,800. Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the Economic Development Commission for $1,800.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up should be the Police Department. It's a 0.45% increase. You have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the police budget at $4,047,919.
I'll second.
Okay, is there discussion?
I mean, again, I know that this is a big budget, but I just really appreciate the thought that went into the presentation and the forward thinking that we have within the police department. I just really think that we're lucky to have the officer call. So, thank you so much for all of the work that you put into it. And like I said, just seeing where we're moving forward, I think the town is very fortunate.
Yeah, I'd like to ditto that a little bit and say thank you for the forward planning and trying to put together a 5-year plan. It would definitely take a lot of surprises we've had in past budgets out of the equation. So I think you did a great presentation and well thought out budget.
I'm also taking the Citizens Academy at the moment. I encourage people to enroll in that if they have another one. It's very eye-opening to learn what goes on behind the scenes, so it's worth taking.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the police department, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Police Commission, 0% increase. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the police commission budget at $1,725.
Second,
Second.
discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Emergency management, it's a decrease of 15.19%. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve emergency management at $35,543.
Second that.
Discussion, it was discussed as to where the decreases were at the last meeting, or 2 meetings ago, sorry. Any further discussion? See none, all those in favor of emergency management signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we put this hopefully right there. I have the building department next, yes. All right, building departments, a decrease of 0.33%. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the building budget at $201,250.
Is there a second?
Second,
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Communications. There a motion to approve.
I will make a motion to approve communications at $57,027.
Okay. Second,
Second.
discussion. And there was plenty of discussion about this at our meetings.
Yeah.
This is one to watch going forward, that there's gonna be some additional increases in this. It's almost 80% this year, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot we can do about it at this present time.
No, what's it gonna go up next year? Over 40,000?
40,000 or something?
33,000, I think, they said about 100,000 across the three.
Yeah, and it's
And our-
67 now, so it's gonna go, on our side, it'll go probably another 10 or 15.
This is the one where we don't have an agreement at the moment.
This is the one where we have never had, ever. And they're changing from their per capita assessment, which highly favored the town, to a per call assessment, which does not. The big losers in their something like 16 town service area are East Windsor and Vernon. And it's because of call volume. The police dispatch themselves through their dispatch. The 2 fire departments and the ambulance are dispatched by Talon County, and we do our CMed through them too. So the 2 fire departments pay their own way. This $26,000 cost is what is the town's share for the ambulance association and for EMD.
Discussion. I mean,
We are negotiating with them maybe next year.
We will be.
I don't think there's negotiation though. Their cost is their cost. I don't think we're gonna say, well, we're not gonna pay you as much
Well,
per call as you're telling us.
then at some point, depending on how high that number gets, Chief Carl and I come back to the Board of Finance and say, it's worth us hiring additional dispatchers and dispatching all of those services out of East Windsor. That's what there's a point in time where the cost benefit simply is not there to us.
Is it per call from East Windsor or per call overall?
Per call from East,
From East-
servicing.
So the per calls for everybody, anybody who uses Talon County is getting that same per call cost.
Right, but they're basing our rate based on the calls that came from us.
Yeah. And even if they go to mutual aid, Tommy did a great job of explaining that the other night.
Yeah.
That none of those calls cost, when they go to fires in Summers or
Yeah.
Ellington, we're not getting charged for those. We're only getting charged for East Windsor calls, but it's still a big number.
But we still have to be vigilant about that though, because the 2 fire departments we did find were getting charged inadvertently for responding to each other's calls. So both departments were getting called to a structure fire on Phelps Road. That should not be the case. There should have only been 1 charge based on one side of town. So the leadership of the 2 fire departments is pretty vigilant about watching that, but mistakes do happen.
just one thing that we won't remember on this too is, put a star by this, I guess, is that the ambulance department is not a town entity. It's a separate entity.
They're a town agents.
Town agency.
Yeah, they're a vendor.
And do they pay any of this cost?
No,
Have they?
But we don't pay anything for their service either.
Okay, that's true.
It's kind of our,
Yeah,
it's kind of a wash, but it just, it is something that.
It is not a wash.
No.
On a cost benefit perspective, we are still making out very well. But, you know, as I said in my budget presentation, good fences make good neighbors. And-
Yeah.
And here you're looking at two different examples where we need to have a good fence so that everybody understands what each party's obligations are. We don't have that. We've never had that with TN. We haven't had that with the ambulance association since 2013.
And we don't have one for Marcus either, I don't think.
Oh, right, that's the same. Well,
I mean,
I don't, have we ever had one? For service agreement contract?
Yeah, we pay $15,900 a year.
Well, that's a maintenance contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about for, you know, the power? Yeah. There's 3 of the 4 examples that I talked about are all in this line.
no, and I think our first responders all work all together and I think like.
Our guys would not be happy to leave TN.
Yeah.
Fire, ambulance, all of them would tell you they would not want to switch from TN.
Yeah, no, perfect. I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the communications line, signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Public Works Department, it's a 3.92% increase, a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve Public Works at $1,257,643.
We have a second.
Second that.
Discussion. You must have done a phenomenal job presenting to us.
It must have been Lenny's PowerPoint.
Yes,
It
that's
is what
right.
it is. I think you
Yes.
should-
Lenny had an awesome PowerPoint.
Seeing those, no discussion, all those in favor of Public Works signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town,
Bring up possibly the Board of Ed out of order. We're sitting, it's been a long day. Is there any chance we could do?
yeah, sure. Okay.
My number doesn't pick up. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Board of Education budget at $27,755,446. Is that as presented? As presented.
Is there a second? Second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded. We're open for discussion on the Board of Education budget.
Yeah, I'd like to, my thoughts in this were at, starting, 103,000 reduction. I, as much as I would love to, have a new teacher, I just don't think we're at a point where we can satisfy some of those wants. So that would save us about the 80, and then I think we could probably, look at cutting at least the 20 from the snow plow. I also think it may be worth discussing the 2% fund and, anything that we can do in that space as well.
Utilizing 2%.
Not all of it though, right?
It was 265.
Just to
Yes,
save
I want to say, Amy probably knows the number a little bit better, but it's about 478 in there, so.
Yeah.
Accurate, so.
As we know, especially budget costs can come out of nowhere.
Yeah, but we also know that if something comes up out of nowhere, it could come from out of appropriation. Do we? Yeah.
And can you switch to your revenue summary sheet for a minute, please? At the top. Actually, I'm sorry. I'm looking for the, did you update the grand list numbers?
No.
No, I think I sent it out to everybody before I did that. Yeah, we're going up $4 million, right?
Yeah, I'll get you the real number in a second. $1,466,124,670.
So it drops us 0.7, 0.07. What we were. I think we were 2491 before.
So what do we just?
Yeah. We increased the grand list. We actually picked up $4 million in our grand list after the BAA because somebody got audited and their values went up $4 million. So our number actually went up instead of down. Normally when BAA goes through, it usually comes down. In this case, it actually went up. So it will change the necessary mill rate from 24.91 to 24.84, which goes up 0.07. And we're now, instead of a decrease of 27.34, we're now a decrease of 27.54 for the mill rate change.
But the amount that we're taxing went up, but
No, it should have gone down. Yeah, because this number was 602,799. No, that number didn't change.
no, it wouldn't change because we're not asking for any more. The money we need to do the budget is still the
Oh,
same.
that's right,
So that.
right, until we make
Till we
changes in the
change
budget.
it,
Yeah.
Change, we don't need to change it.
So right now, our mill rate would just go down a little more.
It would go down another 0.7 of a mil, 7 others.
So. Right, so now we're back to discussion on the Board of Ed budget.
I'd like to see it come down a little bit more. I mean, this is gonna be tough for you and everybody rebound and everybody else. And almost 5%. It's gonna be hard for people to swallow. I mean, I know, I get it, it's hard to cut it, it's hard to find it, but. It's just a lot.
You proposed, what was your number you proposed?
It would come, well, so like my thought, and I didn't propose anything yet because Randy's got a motion on the floor. But reducing 103,000, which was the chorus teacher in the salary, in the benefits included. Plus 20,000 from the snowplow line, and then I mean, I think another 100,000, knowing that they have the 2% fund with still, it would still have 200 something thousand left.
So
right?
your proposed decrease is 203,000.
223,
Oh, thank you.
right, 20 from the plowing,
Oh, yes,
100 and 103.
So 223 is what you're taking off.
Your proposal is.
We're already using. Yeah. And then Tom T, did you actually have a number or you just said you wanted to come down?
I just don't see, no, I mean, I'd love to see it around 2.5% for most.
I personally don't agree with.
I don't think that's gonna make it.
2% fund.
So to confirm, right, so that with, because they are using money from the 2% fund this year, that leaves a balance of what though?
210,
Okay, so it would still, with my, it would still leave some cushion in there as well.
yes, about 110,000.
But if you also look at it over these years, nothing has been added to the 2% fund.
We haven't used it until this year either.
But
I know, I just think we're in a difficult spot. And like I said, I know things come up. I also know we're a town that if an added appropriation were to come in front of us and it was a need, I have faith that we would do the right thing in those cases.
Christina?
No, I agree. It should be decreased. It seems to be a mismanagement of money with each increase. There hasn't been any overall increase in the education. So it just doesn't make sense to me.
Do you have a proposal for what you think you would?
Well, with your proposal, what is the percentage change?
3.91.
With fast over there, Jason.
Yeah,
I got
I
Excel.
didn't come prepared with a proposal, but I was thinking 2 to 3% increase.
Should we vote on Randy's motion since it's on the table?
We can. you'd like to do that. So I will ask for a vote on the motion to approve the Board of Ed budget as presented at 4.8% increase at $27,755,446.
Right.
Opposed?
Aye.
No,
Okay. So someone can make another motion.
I think I have my number right. So, I'll make a motion, for $27,532,446.
75. Oh, 532?
Yeah.
46. Okay. And what did come out? Is there a second? Yes, second?
Nicole, that was the 3% increase you said?
It was,
3.9.
I think we said 3.91.
3.91, it's reducing it by 223,000.
Okay, this motion has not got seconded yet, so.
I'll second.
Discussion. Now ask for a vote. All those in favor of the proposed motion of $2,532,446, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
no,
No,
No.
Motion fails. Okay. Go back to reorder. So that was 3.91. Their ask was 4.8.
no, that's just 4.7.
Yeah, 4.75.
No, okay, I just looked at yours, that's 4.8. You just must round up. See if we can. I think we're getting close to where it needs to be. You know, my number, to be honest with you, I was at just a little over 3%, about 3.2 is where, when I played around with my numbers at home. So I'm down a little bit more yet, but that's where I came in at, but. I'll ask for decision if I made.
We have the number on that would be.
What do you want, 3.2?
Yeah, it was right, it was like 3 round.
If you go to 3,
When I played at home, that's why.
3.2% is 27,344,646.
What was the number? 27?
344,646.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just, I just, part of why I made the motion I made is because I had a vision, right? I obviously, I know I don't get to say where the money comes from, but like, I at least had that in my mind. I don't love just throwing a willy-nilly number out there either, so I don't know where does the thought from behind that come?
Part of mine was going, you know, I asked my question on the buses, that's kind of where I was
Yeah.
figuring if they're renegotiating a bus contract, there's an opportunity there a little bit. And some of it was, I mean, I know I hate to look at maintenance, but I mean, the maintenance portion of that budget was, or facilities, like Tom mentioned, there's quite a bit of increase into that one. Granted, I'm sure some of it is needed, but again, we have to, you know, present a reasonable budget that we have an opportunity of passing. You know, the mill rate is gonna be down, but people are still gonna look at what's the increase in the total percentage to the town. And if it does fail, I mean, we do look at that 2%, so we need to be cognizant of, I mean, I'm not saying we need to be 2%, but we don't need to go through 3 referendums and end up at 2%. We
Right.
can avoid that and give the money where it needs to be given. So
Yeah, no, I agree.
that's where.
That would be a 2.85% bottom line.
Give that number. would be,
Bottom line.
For the whole thing.
Yep.
So it's under 3% increase for the whole budget.
total budget was what, Jason?
The total budget, assuming the other changes, would be 2.85%.
Which is 45, 541, 448.
I can't make a motion or vote, so if someone wants to consider that, please make a motion on it. If not, I mean, we need a motion to move forward.
Can you pull that up to the? How do you want to see the 3% or?
Yeah, let's. Want to try to go to three, what's 3% give us? Oh, I mean, 3.2, we can go with that in my mind.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the Board of Ed budget at $27,344,646.
There a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the Board of Ed budget at $27,344,646, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Here too.
No,
Opposed? 15?
I was thinking.
Tom, was your no because you want it to be higher?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just sharing that so you
Oh,
have the
yeah, no,
consideration.
I know, I was just thinking, okay, I see, I
Yes, okay. That's our number. Motion carries at a 3.2% increase. Okay.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Back where we left off here.
No problem.
Town properties. All right, town properties.
Oh. Yeah, we're over.
Town properties is a 0.88% increase. It's on the page, I don't know, it's not
I
my.
got it, yeah, I'm sorry, go back to mine.
I'll make a motion to approve town properties at $1,254,264.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Night.
Opposed? Motion carries. Road improvements. It's a 0% increase.
Make a motion for road improvements of $430,000.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Building committees.
Make a motion to approve building committee at $1,200.
Discussion, have a second, sorry. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying
So
aye.
the increase on that is because we plan on having more meetings this year?
That's actually.
It's a decrease, 20%.
So we're still planning on having more meetings.
We've only spent about 500 so far this year.
Well, we haven't had a meeting.
They've had some.
I've already flipped the page.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if that's for vote, but I'm gonna ask for it. All those in favor of the building committee at $1,200, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Alrighty, sanitation. The 3 point. Oh. Did I miss one? No.
Yep, 3.61.
Yeah, 3.61% increase on sanitation.
I'll make a motion to approve the sanitation budget at $1,209,244. 3.61% increase.
Second.
Discussion? We hope it stays there. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Senior services, 0.75% increase. There a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve senior services at $280,516.
Second.
Discussion? And then all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Elderly commission,
Make a motion to approve the elderly commission at $750.
second.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Social services, it's a decrease of 6.36%.
I'll make a motion to approve social services at $204,752.
For a second,
Second.
discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Libraries, I'll ask if it's been, there may be some discussion on Warehouse Point. Is there any One wants to do these separately before you, or make a change before you vote on the line.
I'm gonna make a motion for libraries in general at 341,700. I don't feel right adding into a budget when we just took away.
A second.
Right. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Recreation. We have a motion,
I. Should we make a motion there?
if you want to discuss, if you have something you need to discuss first, that's fine too.
And I don't know, I know Melissa's not here, I just don't know if we have a question on the cost for the parking lot. Is that,
You're talking about the gravel lot for Prospect Hill?
yeah,
$3,500?
it's like nothing?
Was gravel, wasn't it? Go ahead, correct me. Go ahead.
It doesn't matter. That's a good start.
That was the most helpful.
Like, well, I don't know what that means.
Would you put a parking lot in for $5,000 down?
No.
You gotta box it out, strip the topsoil, build the grade up and put process in and roll it. And you gotta change the guardrails because the guardrail cuts in front of it. So. It will cost more than that.
Do they really
So
need?
you could take the 5,000 now and she can put the proper number in.
I think it was 3,500.
Okay.
I'll tell you what you gave me. I mean, those.
And again, I just, I'm just thinking, right, like, I don't know how much foot traffic there is at that park. Love it, it's a cute little park, but I've never had an issue pulling in the little turnaround. I don't know if it bothers the people that live there, but I've never seen them.
I think the whole point is that there is no parking.
Neighborhood, yeah.
Cul-de-sac. It's not really even a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, it's,
It's like a half a cul-de-sac. The parking lot definitely needs to be put down.
The other thing is, that could be something that we could do as an end of year thing as well. That's a one time.
okay. Okay, but she only
I
budgeted,
have the same note Amy had, the.
she budgeted 30,
3,500.
that's what she budgeted.
That's not gonna get a parking lot, but.
We get the guardrails pulled out and replaced and put where they need to be,
Okay,
but after that, you're.
I mean, I know it's not a lot of money to take out, but I'm just,
I had this one starred myself under part-time salary that, the selectmen took away an intern from Melissa. It was an $8,000 cost. You know, I just was gonna ask the board to consider possibly looking at that intern. She does an awful lot for the town, spread over three departments, and when we asked the question, what happens if you don't have the intern, she says you see a lot more of me, and I don't know that that's quite where she needs to be. That's
I
good.
like seeing.
I will tell you this, that the two she had last year were phenomenal and they took a lot of the work. I mean, even some maintenance work they did up there. One of them actually did string trim in on his downtime when he wasn't. So.
That was my SOP, one to pull 3,500 from her site improvements and put her $8,000 intern in there. That would be fine with me.
I don't think they.
But if we want to make individual line item changes, we do that to you as a motion before we vote on the budget for that department.
Gotcha. What would that do?
What do you want to know?
Moving from site improvements, taking 3,500 off.
So adding the 8,000 back here for the part-time.
Part-time, yeah, that was her original request.
And then taking it from site improvements.
$3,500 was coming to the site improvement.
Bottom line is 375, 325, 8.83%.
I'm glad you can read it.
And the other,
You, That is easy if you want, do not want me to, I'll stop.
We appreciate you. The other part of the site improvements was to fix the docks at the front, right, which I think, I mean, that gets a lot of foot traffic, so. Exactly the amount that you budgeted to fix that.
What's that?
I think it was the docks at the res was the other part of the site improvement plan.
How much did she budget for that?
It's almost 5,000.
5,000?
Well, total. Parking lot.
3,500 back in there, and we might be able to do the docks then.
I don't agree with giving another intern to Parks and Rec when we just pulled the chorus teacher from Florida Ed. Or whatever else they're gonna.
But I hear you, but $8,000 compared to 80 something thousand, a bit
How
different.
much money the Parks and Recs have gotten in the past few years.
There's a lot more people use our park and rec facilities.
In our education department.
I mean, like families, I mean, your kids, the kids use it, plus the adults, plus their, I mean. I mean, just, yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead, I'll make a motion to reduce the site improvement line to, what are we at, 20? Can you just put your, 26,500?
26,500.
Yeah.
26,500?
Yeah.
We have a motion to approve under recreation site improvements at 26,500. Oh, you made the motion. Sorry, is there a second? There's a second. Motion died for lack of a second.
I tried it.
Sounds like.
Yeah, so you can put it, I guess, put it back.
The other thing we have changed right now is the increase to the intern for $8,000.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean. I'm not married to it.
Is there a motion for it? If not, we can go.
You can move it, you can put it back.
Okay.
Go back to the original.
She did.
Yeah, 101.
I did. We're back to 370, 825, 7.53%.
Motion to approve the recreation budget at whatever it is, 370, 825, as presented.
I'm like a monster. For the recreation. For recreation budget of 370,825.
There's a second.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. What did you wanna? You have a thought on?
My thoughts were already,
Yeah.
they're getting a 7.53 increase and
No,
school's getting 3.2.
Historical Commission, is there a motion to approve?
make a motion to approve the historical commission at $750.
There's a second.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, that is done. Debt service. 32% increase.
That's only because we moved it to other lines, the biggest being legal.
Yeah, it's a true 2% over the prior year.
All those in favor, signify, sorry, there a motion to approve the debt service line.
Make a motion to approve debt services at $946,697.
There's a second.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Capital improvement.
Okay, this is where. Need map. So with the budget that's proposed by the Board of Selectmen, where did that stop on this?
It doesn't yet.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, they get an allocation and then that group has to meet again in June after the budget passes
To apply the money.
and figure out what projects have gotten done through some other means, and then what they can afford to fund.
And then they make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen and we allocate it.
And then I bring the transfers to you guys in the summertime to get it all moved to the specific projects.
Project. So basically, it's kind of like what we do, we give them the money, they do what they need to do.
Right.
It's kind of the same, basically, just the way that we're, so.
But we're saying it doesn't go just in
We-
this weighted project order. It could go out of order.
So,
Yes.
so with the transfer requests that we have coming or potential fund balance spend down that needs to be done. That priority ranking that the CIP committee put forward could certainly well change. It's a pretty good resource for us to draw from when we're looking to spend down those funds. Really, that's all I forgot to, we pulled from that list pretty regularly. I would strongly recommend keeping that budget as is.
I don't want to cut it, it just.
Well, she's thinking,
I don't think we want to add to it either, Nicole, to the, what I was thinking. I mean, we're not gonna add to it, we use this fund down. They hope that along.
part of it, we need to remember that there was, we received $1 million from the Pequot Fund this year, current fiscal year, that was not budgeted, that's what we used towards.
Plus a $2 million building permit fee.
Yes, that's right. So there's $3 million there that could potentially be used for projects on that CIP list that we can.
And in my judgment, the most significant project that the town faces is not on the CIP list. And that's the replacement of the radio system, which is still an open-ended question. You know, we're hoping to secure state bonds for a large chunk of it, but we don't know that. And we also don't know what the total project cost of that is going to be, so. Chief Carl and I are going to the Capitol tomorrow to make some headway on that. But that is a significant public safety project.
What's do you have an idea approximate, just,
No,
okay? That was pretty sterling.
Pretty quick.
it's 7 or 8 figures.
Cool.
I'll make a motion to approve capital improvement at $1,214,310.
Second.
Discussion. Sampson, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Employee benefits, it's a decrease of 3.74%. in 2 categories, thanks to the 27th payroll. We have a motion.
I make a motion to approve employee benefits at $30,559,701.
Second,
Second.
discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Contingency,
Make a motion to approve our contingency budget at $190,000. Is that not what this is?
No.
I was gonna say, that's what's in front of me.
Yeah, 190 is right.
Yep.
Did you transfer yours out yet?
No,
Why wouldn't we do that?
I don't know. I didn't bring it to them yet.
Anyway, discussion.
Let's go with it.
That's a question.
Discussion, what is Jason talking about?
My contract got settled with the Board of Selectmen, but it's still in here.
So what does that do?
Nothing, overall, your budget would stay the same, but it would go from this line to my salary line.
Okay, so no change though.
No,
Okay.
From my perspective, though, starting off with that true number
Yeah.
would be important for some of the labor negotiations. that
Well, we-
are coming.
But did we,
We can vote, it's not gonna change the budget number, but at our next meeting next Wednesday, if we can just make that quick motion to move it. We can do that then.
okay.
I don't, avoid having to do the calculations right now. All those in favor of the contingency line signify by saying.
Aye.
Did I get a second?
You
Did we
did?
get a second? Yeah.
I thought,
I only had Nicole.
I thought when, you know, you second.
I can second.
Okay, I guess you didn't second. I guess there's questions going on, I could correct, but anyway. Seconded, vote, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. All right, so that finishes the departments. Income is set. And there's no changes to that, Amy, from what we,
Not that I know of. I'm hearing from the state that the numbers are gonna stay the same.
okay. I mentioned at one of our meetings, there is a transfer from the fund balance of 1.2 million in there. We seem to be using more and more every year. I guess at this point it's okay, but you know, that's can become an 800-pound gorilla in the future if we're not careful. And there is also $1 million in this budget that's not normally here from the Pequot Fund, which may or may not be there in the future going forward. So that's another one we need to remember going forward. I mean, it is what it is. The $1 million is coming from the Pequot Fund this year, whether we want it or not, we obviously want it. But that will make a significant change unless we get a significant amount of money next year in the bottom line of the budget. So, a couple gifts, but a big gift right there. So it's just something to keep in mind going forward. Is there any further discussion on the?
Oh, we need a vote on the whole budget.
Yeah, but I'm just saying if there's any other questions or discussion on revenue, because we look at this expenses, but we don't really talk much about the revenue, but. You know, in my opinion, we have two big things that we need to keep in mind that we're doing going forward that could cost significant in a tax increase down the road.
So one of two things is going to happen next year. Either Rapid Pit Solar will be online, in which case the tax stabilization agreement will kick in, or they won't be, in which case we'll be taxing them at full boat on a $280 million project. So there is something that's gonna happen next year.
Okay.
Don't know when.
But like I said, yeah, that's next year. I'm just looking at this right here and just from me being a business person, I look at that saying. There's significant money sitting here that we may not have in the future, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, or 2 years.
I offer that just as a way of illustrating that something will be different next year, to the good. We just don't know which it is.
Okay. So with that, we want to just put our final number up there.
45, is there?
Yep.
45, 541, 448.
Yep, and it's a 2.85% increase, spending increase. 1.2 billion, $1,262,509 increase in spending for fiscal year 24-25. So if we're good with that number, which we seem to be from the motions we made tonight, if I can have a motion to approve that and send it to.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget at $45,541,448, which is a 2.85% increase, and to send to referendum.
Second.
Let's ask one more time. Does anyone want to make any final comments on the budget tonight? Okay. Overall, I think it's fair. And hopefully the.
It does change the taxes down to just 166,999 from the 577 that was there. Yeah. Wow. And our mill rate goes to 24.56, which is a 28.37% decrease.
But just remember that there is plenty of residents in town that will have a tax increase, and there's plenty of residents in town this year because the valuation will have a decrease. Commercial properties are going to probably see a decrease in taxes. And unfortunately, some residents in town will see an increase no matter what we do. So. There's no further discussion. Do I have a motion to approve the budget as
Motion.
I'm sorry, I have a motion. Second. All right, so we're open for vote. All those in favor of the proposed 24-25 Town of East Windsor fiscal year budget, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Guess everyone voted. Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries.
I'll send out the spreadsheet. I'm not.
Alrighty, no, I'm supposed to do your budget.
We can do that on the radio.
Cheers, someone.
97.9.
Okay, so yeah, the next item would be to finalize the budget mailer.
We can do that Tuesday.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yes, there's a UConn game on. But
Uh,
I have to drive home
do
first.
So we
we
do,
need a
so
motion to move that to next?
it'd be our, no, we're not gonna have a meeting on Monday the 15th. We're gonna meet on Tuesday, the 16th. Which is a different meeting night for us, but that's due to Amy having to travel. That's gonna be our meeting.
And I will not be here, just for everyone's.
George will be back, so we should be good. All right, so, so which to adjourn?
We're not having Monday night,
I guess on Monday night.
and Tuesday is going to be a regular meeting that normally is Wednesday.
Take care of 16.
So do I have a
Yeah.
motion
Also,
to?
we're gonna.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.
Nicole, were you the second?
Yeah, sure, yeah. thank you.
We're to the.
No, Randy was first.
I-